Mrs. Patterson, there seems to be some confusion. This joint account with your son Michael was opened 3 months ago with your signature. My blood turned to ice as I stared at the bank manager. That wasn't my signature, and I'd never agreed to any joint account with Michael. The words echoed in my head like a broken record. My hand started shaking as I gripped my purse tighter. David Chen, the bank manager, looked at me with concern. His expression told me this was more serious than I realized. The fluorescent lights above seemed too bright suddenly. I felt dizzy and needed to sit down immediately. This couldn't be happening to me at 68 years old. I looked at David Chen and demanded to see the signature myself. He pulled out a manila folder with several documents inside. The signature looked almost like mine, but something felt wrong. The pen strokes were too heavy, and the letters slanted differently. I knew my own handwriting after 68 years on this earth. This was definitely not my signature on these important papers. David explained that $50,000 had already been withdrawn. My stomach dropped to the floor when he said those words. That money represented years of careful saving and budgeting as a widow. I worked as a school administrator for 35 years for that money. The joint account had been opened exactly 3 months ago. Michael had presented what appeared to be valid identification documents. The bank staff had no reason to suspect anything suspicious. David showed me the withdrawal slips with more forged signatures. Each signature looked slightly different, as if someone was practicing. I realized my own son had been stealing from me systematically. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical pain I'd ever experienced. My Michael, the boy I raised and loved unconditionally. How could he do this terrible thing to his own mother? I felt like my whole world was crashing down around me. David Chen explained that this appeared to be elder financial abuse. He said the bank would need to file a report. I would need to contact the police department as well. This wasn't just a family dispute anymore, but a serious crime. The bank had security cameras that recorded the account opening. Michael would be clearly visible on those surveillance recordings. David assured me they would cooperate fully with any investigation. I realized I needed to take immediate action to protect myself. This was just the beginning of a very long battle. I asked David to print copies of every document. He handed me a thick stack of papers to review. The forged power of attorney document made me feel sick. I never signed anything giving Michael control over my finances. He had created this fake document to trick the bank. The level of planning and deception was absolutely staggering to me. My son had betrayed my trust in the most calculated way. I felt angry and heartbroken at the exact same time. David gave me his business card and personal phone number. He promised to help me through this difficult legal process. I drove home in complete silence with tears streaming down. My comfortable retirement had turned into a nightmare in minutes. $50,000 represented almost half of my life savings. I had worked so hard to build that nest egg. Social Security wouldn't cover all my monthly expenses without those savings. Michael knew exactly how much I had in that account. He had access to my financial information when he helped me. I trusted him completely because he was my beloved son. Now I realized that trust had been my biggest mistake. At home, I sat at my kitchen table staring. The house felt empty and cold despite the warm weather. I kept replaying David's words over and over in my mind. My son had forged legal documents to steal my money. This wasn't a simple misunderstanding or family disagreement about finances. Michael had committed multiple serious crimes against his own elderly mother. I needed to call him immediately and demand an explanation. Maybe there was some reasonable explanation for all of this. Deep down, though, I knew the truth was much worse. I picked up the phone with trembling hands to call. Michael's number was still programmed in my speed dial. He had always been my emergency contact for everything. Now I was calling him about the biggest emergency ever. The phone rang 3 times before Michael answered casually. His voice sounded completely normal, as if nothing was wrong. I took a deep breath before speaking to him. This conversation would change our relationship forever between us. I knew there was no going back after this moment. Michael, I need to talk to you about something very serious. The bank called me today about a joint account. I never opened any joint account with you at all. There must be some kind of terrible mistake or misunderstanding here. David Chen at First National showed me documents with signatures. Those signatures were not mine, and I never signed them. Someone has been forging my name on important bank documents. I need you to explain what's happening right now immediately. This involves $50,000 that's already been taken out. My heart is pounding because I'm scared and confused. Michael's voice suddenly changed from casual to completely defensive immediately. Mom, what are you talking about exactly right now? I don't know anything about any bank account with you. You must be confused or maybe forgetting things again. Are you sure you didn't sign something and forget? Maybe you should see a doctor about your memory. This sounds like you're having problems remembering things clearly. I would never do anything to hurt you ever. You know I love you and would protect you. Stop worrying about things that don't make any sense. His reaction made my stomach drop even lower than before. Michael, I saw the forged signatures with my own eyes. The bank has security cameras showing someone opening this account. They have copies of a fake power of attorney. I never gave you power of attorney over anything. You're lying to me right now, and I know it. This isn't about my memory or mental health at all. Someone stole $50,000 from my life savings account. The bank manager confirmed this is elder financial abuse. I'm calling the police if you don't tell me truth. Suddenly, Sarah grabbed the phone from Michael's hands to speak. Eleanor, you need to calm down and stop being dramatic. Michael has been working construction and earning his own money. He doesn't need to steal from anyone, especially his mother. You're getting older and these things happen to people. Maybe you should consider moving to assisted living soon. We've been worried about you living alone for months. This confusion about bank accounts proves you need help. Let us help you manage your finances properly going forward. We only want what's best for your safety. The way Sarah spoke to me felt calculated and cruel. She was trying to make me doubt my own sanity. I realized they had planned this conversation in advance together. They wanted me to believe I was losing my mind. This was part of their strategy to steal money. Sarah was Michael's partner in this terrible crime against me. Her suggestion about assisted living revealed their ultimate plan clearly. They wanted control over all of my assets completely. I felt betrayed by both of them at once. The woman I welcomed into my family was helping. I interrupted Sarah firmly and spoke with clear authority. I am not confused, and my memory is perfect. I know exactly what happened at the bank today. Someone forged legal documents to steal my life savings. The bank has evidence and I'm filing a report. Michael, this is your last chance to tell truth. If you don't explain everything right now, I'm hanging up. Then I'm calling Detective Torres at the police department. You have exactly 30 seconds to start talking honestly. I won't let you. Gaslight me about my memory. Michael's voice became angry and threatening for the first time. Mom, you better not call any police about anything. You don't understand what you're getting yourself into here. Just drop this whole thing and pretend it never happened. Nobody got hurt and you still have plenty money. Don't make this into a bigger problem than necessary. You'll regret it if you involve the police department. I'm warning you to stay out of this. Sarah and I are trying to protect you. Stop being stubborn and listen to us for once. His threatening tone confirmed everything I suspected about them both. Michael had never spoken to me that way before. He was revealing his true character under pressure right now. The boy I raised would never threaten his mother. This man on the phone was a stranger to me. Sarah was coaching him in the background, I could hear. They had transformed into criminals working together against me. I realized I was completely alone in this fight. My own son had become my enemy and thief. I hung up the phone without saying another word. My hands were shaking as I set the receiver down. The house felt dangerous and unsafe for the first time. Michael had my house key from helping with repairs. He knew my daily schedule and security system codes perfectly. What if they decided to come over tonight? I needed to change my locks immediately tomorrow morning. The police report would have to wait until then. I was scared but also angry about their threats. I walked through my house, checking every door and window. The back door lock seemed loose and needed attention. I pushed my kitchen chair against the front door. The security system was armed, but Michael knew the code. I would stay awake all night if necessary tonight. Tomorrow I would call a locksmith first thing. Then I would drive straight to the police station. Michael and Sarah had made their choice to threaten me. Now I would make mine to fight back completely. The next morning I woke. Up, exhausted but determined. I had barely slept thinking about Michael's threatening phone call. My first priority was getting the locks changed immediately. I called Johnson Locksmith at 7 in the morning. They could come out within 2 hours to help. This would prevent Michael from entering my house unexpectedly. I needed to feel safe in my own home. The locksmith bill would be worth the peace of mind. I couldn't risk Michael showing up here unannounced tonight. Sarah might encourage him to take more drastic action. I had to protect myself from further financial crimes. After breakfast, I drove straight back to First National. David Chen was already expecting my return visit today. He had prepared copies of every single document. The forged power of attorney looked more suspicious. I could see where Michael had traced my signature. The pen pressure was uneven throughout the entire document. David showed me the security footage from 3 months. Michael appeared calm and confident while committing this crime. Sarah waited in the car during the account opening. They had planned this theft together very carefully indeed. David explained the bank's internal investigation process to me. They would review all security protocols that failed. The employee who processed the account would be questioned. First National had liability for accepting forged documents potentially. This could result in financial compensation for my losses. David gave me the direct number for their fraud. The bank would cooperate fully with police and prosecutors. He assured me this case would receive priority. My age and the family relationship made this aggravated. The bank wanted to see justice served properly. I asked David about surveillance systems for my house. He recommended Secure Home Technologies on Maple Street downtown there. They specialized in elder protection and financial abuse cases. The owner, Margaret Williams, was actually my neighbor. I remembered her mentioning this business. During our conversations, she had retired from nursing to help seniors. This felt like fate bringing the right person. I would call Margaret immediately after leaving the bank. Technology could help me gather evidence against Michael successfully. Hidden cameras would capture any future criminal activity. I drove to Margaret's office feeling hopeful for assistance. She greeted me warmly and listened to my story. Margaret had seen dozens of similar elder abuse cases. Family members were often the worst perpetrators, she explained. They had intimate knowledge of their victims' routines. Margaret's security systems had helped convict many criminals. She could install cameras throughout my house today. The hidden cameras would record everything automatically to cloud. Michael would never suspect he was being recorded. This evidence could be crucial for prosecution later. Margaret and her team worked for 3 hours installing. Cameras were placed in every room except bathrooms. The system connected directly to my smartphone for monitoring. Margaret taught me how to access the recordings. She also installed motion sensors throughout the house. Any unusual activity would trigger immediate alerts to me. The police could also access the footage with. Margaret refused payment, saying neighbors help each other. I felt grateful for her kindness and expertise. This technology would level the playing field against Michael. That afternoon, I researched elder law attorneys online extensively. Thomas Rodriguez had excellent reviews for similar cases recently. His office specialized in financial elder abuse prosecution. Thomas had recovered millions for elderly victims statewide. Several reviews mentioned his compassionate approach during difficult. I called his office and spoke with receptionist. Thomas could meet with me tomorrow morning promptly. The consultation fee was $500 for. I scheduled the appointment despite the cost involved. Professional legal help was essential for this complex case. I spent the evening organizing all my evidence carefully. Bank documents went into one manila folder clearly, photos of the forged signatures in another folder. I wrote detailed notes about every conversation today. Margaret had given me a notebook for tracking. Every interaction with Michael would be documented going forward. The hidden camera system was already recording continuously. I felt prepared for whatever Michael might try. This systematic approach would build an unshakable legal case. The house felt safer with the new locks installed. Margaret's security system was monitoring everything around the clock. I had professional legal representation scheduled for tomorrow morning. The bank was conducting their own internal investigations simultaneously. Multiple people were now working to help me. Michael and Sarah had made a terrible mistake. They underestimated a retired school administrator's organizational skills. I had spent 35 years managing difficult situations. This would be my most important project yet. Before bed, I reviewed the camera feeds carefully. The system was working perfectly throughout the entire house. Any movement would trigger alerts to my phone. I could sleep peacefully knowing I was protected. Tomorrow would bring the next phase of evidence. Thomas Rodriguez would help me understand my legal options. Michael had stolen from the wrong elderly woman. I was going to fight back with everything. This battle was just beginning for all of us. Thomas Rodriguez's law office felt impressive and reassuring immediately. His diplomas covered the wall behind his mahogany desk. Books about elder law filled the shelves everywhere. Thomas had handled hundreds of similar cases successfully. His gray hair and kind eyes reminded me. He shook my hand firmly and offered coffee. This felt like the right person to help. Thomas asked me to tell my story slowly. He took detailed notes while I spoke honestly. The office atmosphere made me feel safe and protected. I explained everything that had happened at the bank. Thomas listened carefully without interrupting my detailed account of events. He examined every document I had brought with me. The forged signatures made him shake his head sadly. Thomas had seen this type of family betrayal. He explained that Michael had committed multiple serious felonies. Bank fraud carried a federal sentence of 20 years. Elder financial abuse was also a state felony charge. Identity theft added another 5 to 10 years. Thomas said this case was very strong legally. Thomas pulled out a thick legal book He showed me the specific statutes Michael had violated. Elder abuse in our state carried enhanced penalties. Michael could face 5 to 10 years minimum. The systematic nature made it aggravated elder abuse. Thomas explained that prosecutors loved these clear-cut cases. The evidence was overwhelming against Michael and Sarah both. They had left a paper trail everywhere. Video surveillance made denial impossible for them completely. Thomas felt confident about a successful prosecution here. The most shocking revelation came when Thomas investigated further. He had connections at multiple banks throughout the region. Thomas made several phone calls while I waited. Michael had applied for credit cards using my identity had been stolen for months beforehand. 3 different credit card companies had issued cards. Michael had accumulated $23,000 in debt. Thomas showed me the credit reports immediately. My credit score had dropped significantly because this was far worse than just the bank. Thomas explained the full scope of Michael's crimes. Identity theft for credit applications was another felony. Each credit card represented a separate criminal charge. The total financial damage exceeded $73,000. Thomas said this qualified as grand theft. Michael would face decades in prison if convicted. Sarah could be charged as an accomplice too. They had both signed lease agreements using stolen. This criminal conspiracy had been planned for months. Thomas assured me justice would be served properly. The legal process would take several months to complete. Thomas needed to file police reports immediately today. He would coordinate with the district attorney's office. A detective would be assigned to investigate thoroughly. Thomas would also file civil lawsuits against both. We could recover all stolen money plus damages. The bank might settle separately for their. Thomas estimated total recovery could exceed $100. His retainer fee was $3,000 up front. This investment would pay for itself many times. Thomas made phone calls to start the process. He spoke with Detective Linda Torres directly. She specialized in elder financial abuse cases statewide. Detective Torres would interview me tomorrow morning promptly. Thomas would be present during the interview session. He also called the district attorney's office. They were very interested in prosecuting this case. Thomas said prosecutors loved cases with clear evidence. Michael and Sarah had made terrible strategic mistakes. They had underestimated how quickly justice would come. The consultation lasted 2 hours with detailed planning throughout. Thomas gave me his cell phone number. I could call him anytime with questions. He would handle all communication with police going. Thomas also recommended freezing my credit reports immediately. This would prevent further identity theft attempts by. He provided specific instructions for each credit agency. Thomas assured me the nightmare would end soon. Michael had picked the wrong elderly victim completely. Professional legal help made me feel empowered finally. Before leaving Thomas's office, I felt completely different. The weight of fighting alone had been lifted. Thomas had decades of experience with these cases. He knew exactly how to prosecute Michael successfully. The legal system would protect me now going. Thomas walked me to my car personally. He promised to call me tomorrow with. I drove home feeling hopeful for the first. Justice was finally within reach for me now. Michael would face serious consequences for his crimes. That evening, I reviewed my security camera footage. The system had recorded everything perfectly all day. Margaret's technology was working exactly as promised here. I felt prepared for whatever Michael might try. Tomorrow would bring the next phase of justice. Detective Torres would begin the criminal investigation process. Thomas would handle all the complicated legal proceedings. I was no longer fighting this battle alone. Professional help had changed everything for me completely. 2 days after meeting with Thomas Rodriguez, everything changed. I was reviewing security footage when the doorbell rang. The hidden cameras captured Michael and Sarah walking up. They looked angry and determined as they approached. I checked my phone to see the live. Both of them appeared agitated and ready for confrontation. Michael was carrying a manila folder in his hands. Sarah kept looking around nervously at the surroundings. Margaret's security system was recording everything automatically to cloud. This unexpected visit would provide crucial evidence for prosecution. I took a deep breath before answering the door. I opened the door with the chain lock engaged. Michael demanded that I let them inside immediately. Right. Mom, we need to talk about this mess. You're making a huge mistake involving lawyers and police. Just drop everything and we can work this. Sarah stood behind him, nodding in complete agreement. I told them they weren't welcome in my home. The restraining order I filed yesterday made this visit. Michael pushed against the door, trying to force. Sarah started yelling about how ungrateful I was being. The cameras were capturing every threatening word and action. Michael's voice became loud and intimidating toward me completely. You don't understand what you're doing to us. The police report is ruining our reputation in town. Sarah lost her job because of your lies. I'm going to lose construction contracts because... You need to call Thomas Rodriguez right now. Tell him to drop all the legal action. We're family, and this should stay within family. Stop being stubborn about something that doesn't matter. Nobody got hurt, and you have plenty. This is all a big misunderstanding between us. I refuse to remove the chain lock completely. Michael, you stole $73,000 from me total. You forged legal documents and committed identity theft crimes. I have evidence of everything you both did. The bank has security footage of you signing. Thomas says you could face decades in prison. I'm not dropping anything because you threatened me. Sarah enabled every single crime you committed against me. You both made your choice when you... Now face the consequences of those criminal actions. The legal system will decide your fate now. Sarah pushed past Michael to speak directly to me. Eleanor, you're being ridiculous about this whole stupid situation. Michael was trying to help you manage finances. You're too old to handle money by yourself. We were going to pay everything back eventually. You should be in assisted living anyway now. This proves you can't make good decisions anymore. Let us handle your finances and this disappears. We'll take good care of you like family. Stop fighting us when we're trying to help. You're embarrassing the whole family with this drama. The gaslighting attempt made me angrier than before completely. I am not confused or mentally incompetent at all. You both committed crimes and got caught doing. Thomas has documented every single theft and forgery. The district attorney wants to prosecute this case. Detective Torres is building evidence against you both. I will never let you control my finances. Your threats and manipulation won't work on me. The security cameras are recording this entire threatening. Margaret's system sends everything to police automatically when... You've already made everything much worse for yourselves. Michael suddenly grabbed my arm through the door opening. He squeezed hard enough to leave bruises on. You better listen to me right now. I owe some very dangerous people money. They don't care about family relationships or feelings. If I go to prison, they'll come. You don't want that kind of trouble. Just give me the rest of your savings, then we'll disappear and leave you alone completely. This is your last chance to do. Stop being selfish and think about family safety. Sarah and I need that money more. You've lived your life already, so help us. His physical aggression shocked me despite expecting trouble from. I pulled my arm away and stepped back. The bruising would be visible evidence of assault. Michael had crossed the line from theft to... Sarah was encouraging him to be more aggressive. They were desperate because the legal system was... I needed to end this confrontation before things... The cameras had captured everything, including the assault. Detective Torres would have clear evidence of threatening. This visit had backfired completely on both of them. I told them I was calling the police. Michael released my arm and stepped back quickly then. Sarah grabbed his sleeve and pulled him toward. They both realized they had made a terrible. The security footage would show assault and intimidation. Thomas would use this evidence in court proceedings. Michael's desperation about owing dangerous people revealed more. His gambling addiction had created this entire criminal Sarah was equally guilty as an accomplice in. They hurried away from my house before police. The cameras tracked their departure to the street. After they left, I immediately called Detective Torres. She arrived within 20 minutes with backup officers. The security footage clearly showed the entire threatening. Detective Torres took photos of the bruises forming. She filed additional charges for assault and intimidation. The restraining order had been violated multiple times. Michael and Sarah would be arrested within hours. Detective Torres assured me they would be held. Thomas Rodriguez arrived shortly after to review everything. He said this confrontation had sealed their fate. Margaret Williams came over when she had monitored the entire incident through the cloud storage had preserved every threatening moment. Margaret helped me ice my bruised arm carefully. She stayed with me until the police finished. The neighborhood watch would increase patrols around my house. I felt shaken but vindicated by the evidence. Michael and Sarah had revealed their true violent. Tomorrow would bring their arrest and formal charges. The justice system was finally moving to protect me. That evening, Thomas called with an update on. Michael and Sarah had been arrested both were being held without bail pending. The assault charges carried additional penalties for Elder. Thomas said the district attorney was considering federal. The case had become a high priority. The media was already requesting information about arrests. This would become a public example of justice. Michael's construction company had terminated his contract immediately. Sarah would never work in retail management again. The local Channel 7 news truck arrived at. The reporter Amanda Peterson wanted to interview me. She explained that elder financial abuse cases rarely. The public needed to hear my story completely. Amanda assured me the interview would help. Other elderly victims might come forward after seeing. Thomas Rodriguez approved the media interview as beneficial. The exposure would put pressure on prosecutors. Michael and Sarah would face public consequences too. I agreed to share my story on television. The interview was scheduled for that afternoon. Immediately. Amanda Peterson asked detailed questions about Michael's crimes. I explained how he had forged my signature. The power of attorney document was completely fake. Michael had practiced my handwriting for weeks beforehand. Sarah had helped plan every single theft carefully. They stole $73,000 from my accounts. The credit card fraud added thousands more debt. Amanda listened carefully while her cameraman recorded everything. My story would air on tonight's evening news. The headline would read, "Local Son Steals Mothers." Thousands of viewers would hear about their crimes. The newspaper called within hours of the broadcast. Reporter James Martinez wanted a follow-up article for. He had researched similar elder abuse cases. My situation was particularly shocking because of. James explained that family members commit most. Trust makes elderly victims especially vulnerable to exploitation. The newspaper article would run tomorrow morning prominently. James promised to protect my privacy while the public deserved to know about these criminals. Sarah and Michael would be publicly identified. Their employers would likely see the media coverage. By evening, the story had spread across media. The local radio station interviewed Thomas Rodriguez. He explained the legal consequences Michael would face. Elder abuse carried enhanced penalties in our state. Michael could receive 5 to 10 years minimum. Sarah faced similar charges as an accomplice completely. Thomas emphasized that this case would send. Other potential criminals would think twice before. The radio interview reached thousands more people. Social media users began sharing the story widely. Comments poured in supporting my courage to fight. The next morning brought even more shocking news. Sarah had been terminated from her retail job. Her manager saw the newspaper article immediately. The store couldn't employ someone charged with. Sarah's annual salary of $38,000 disappeared. Michael's construction company also ended his contract permanently. They couldn't risk association with elder abuse charges. Both of them lost their income sources. The public shame was destroying their careers. Thomas said this often happened in these. Employers didn't want the negative publicity attached. My story went viral on social media platforms. Facebook users shared the article thousands of times. Comments showed overwhelming support for my fight. Many people shared similar experiences with family. One woman wrote that her brother stole. Another man described his sister's financial exploitation. The response proved this problem was widespread. Elder financial abuse happened in families everywhere. My courage to speak out inspired others. The hashtag Justice for Eleanor began trending locally. People demanded accountability for Michael and Sarah. The district attorney's office issued a statement. Prosecutor Catherine Wilson called my case particularly egregious. The systematic nature of Michael's crimes was shocking. Forging legal documents showed premeditation and calculation completely. Sarah's role as accomplice made it conspiracy. The office would seek maximum penalties allowed. This case would send a clear message: elder abuse would not be tolerated anywhere. Catherine Wilson promised full prosecution despite family. Justice didn't depend on relationships between victims. The legal system would protect vulnerable elderly. Local television stations picked up the story statewide. Channel 12 in the state capital interviewed. Detective Linda Torres explained the investigation process thoroughly. Security cameras had captured Michael's crimes perfectly. Bank records showed the systematic theft pattern. Michael had stolen money every month for. The evidence was overwhelming against both defendants. Detective Torres encouraged other victims to come. Many elderly people suffered in silence unnecessarily. Law enforcement would investigate every reported case seriously. No one should endure financial abuse alone. The story reached national attention when CNN reported elder financial abuse was a growing national. My case represented typical family exploitation patterns. Adult children often targeted their elderly parents. Trust and access made the crimes possible. Reporter Sarah Chen interviewed me by phone. She asked about the emotional impact. Betrayal by family members caused lasting trauma. I encouraged other victims to seek help. Professional support made all the difference in. Sarah Chen promised the story would air. Millions of viewers would learn about elder. Letters and emails poured in from across. Elderly people shared their own abuse stories. A woman in Florida described her. A man in Texas wrote about similar. Many victims had stayed silent from shame. My public story gave them courage to. Support groups reached out offering help, and churches volunteered to assist with legal costs. The community response was absolutely overwhelming and supportive. Strangers offered prayers and encouragement through letters. I realized my pain had purpose now. Other elderly victims felt less alone because the media attention created unexpected consequences for criminals. Michael and Sarah couldn't show their faces. Grocery stores and restaurants recognized them from. People pointed and whispered wherever they went. Their neighbors avoided contact with them completely now. The public shame was intense and unrelenting. Thomas explained this often helped prosecution cases. Defendants sometimes accepted plea deals to avoid. Public humiliation added pressure beyond legal consequences. Michael and Sarah were experiencing community justice too. Their reputation would never recover from this. A week later, the story had changed. Elder abuse awareness increased dramatically throughout the region. Banks implemented new security protocols for elderly. Social services received more reports than ever. Other families came forward with similar cases. Law enforcement created specialized elder abuse units. My story had sparked important conversations about. The media coverage achieved something beyond personal justice. Systematic changes were happening to protect future victims. Michael and Sarah's crimes had unintended positive consequences. Their public disgrace was helping other elderly. The overwhelming support gave me strength to continue. Hundreds of letters arrived, expressing gratitude and encouragement. People thanked me for speaking out courageously. My story had helped them recognize abuse. Some victims found lawyers through my example. Others reported crimes they had hidden previously. The media attention transformed my personal tragedy into. Other elderly people felt empowered to fight. Michael and Sarah had unknowingly created a movement. Their crimes were helping protect future victims. Detective Linda Torres arrived at my house early Monday morning. She carried a thick file folder containing all evidence. The investigation had expanded beyond my original complaints significantly. Other elderly victims had come forward after seeing. Detective Torres specialized in elder financial abuse cases. She had prosecuted hundreds of similar crimes successfully. Her experience made me feel confident about justice. The detective explained the formal process carefully too. This would be a complex federal and state. Michael and Sarah faced decades in prison. Thomas Rodriguez would coordinate all legal proceedings together. The bank security footage was the strongest evidence. Detective Torres showed me the recordings on laptop. Michael appeared calm while forging my signature completely. He had practiced the handwriting for weeks beforehand. Sarah waited in the car as his lookout. They had planned every detail of this theft. The cameras captured Michael's face perfectly throughout the... Detective Torres said this evidence was absolutely... No defense attorney could argue against video recordings. Michael's guilt was undeniably proven by technology surveillance. The footage would convince any jury immediately. Detective Torres had discovered additional crimes during her investigation. Michael had used my identity for multiple purposes: credit card applications in 3 different states successfully, loan applications using my social security number completely, a mortgage application for a house in Texas. The identity theft was far more extensive. Michael had been stealing my identity for months. Detective Torres estimated the total financial damage exceeded. This systematic approach proved premeditation and planning entirely. Michael faced federal charges across multiple state jurisdictions. The grand jury testimony was scheduled for next week. Detective Torres explained the process to me carefully. I would present evidence to 23 citizens. They would determine if formal charges were appropriate. Thomas Rodriguez would prepare my testimony in advance. The grand jury met in complete secrecy. Michael and Sarah wouldn't know about the proceedings. Detective Torres said grand juries almost always. My case had overwhelming evidence supporting prosecution completely. The indictment would include multiple felony charges against... Federal prosecutors were considering additional charges too. Sarah's role as accomplice became clearer during investigation. Detective Torres showed me surveillance from multiple locations. Sarah had helped Michael practice my signature repeatedly. She researched my daily schedule and banking habits. Sarah had applied for credit cards using. She was an equal partner in these. Detective Torres said Sarah faced identical charges. Conspiracy to commit elder abuse carried enhanced penalties. Both defendants would likely receive similar prison sentences. The investigation proved they were criminal partners completely. The district attorney's office was building an airtight. Prosecutor Catherine Wilson reviewed all evidence personally herself. She had prosecuted elder abuse cases for decades. Catherine specialized in complex financial crime cases successfully. This case would receive her full attention, and she promised to seek maximum penalties allowed. Catherine explained that elder abuse cases received, the justice system protected vulnerable elderly citizens specifically. Michael and Sarah would face the full consequences. Public attention made this a high priority completely. During the grand jury proceedings, I testified honestly. 23 citizens listened carefully to my detailed story. I explained how Michael had betrayed my trust. The forged documents were passed around for examination. Video evidence played on a large screen. Grand jurors asked thoughtful questions about the timeline. Thomas Rodriguez guided me through difficult emotional moments. The testimony lasted 3 hours with multiple breaks. I felt heard and validated by citizens. Grand jurors seemed genuinely angry about Michael's crimes. The indictment was issued within 48 hours. Michael faced 7 felony charges, including elder abuse. Identity theft across state lines added federal charges. Bank fraud carried a 20-year maximum sentence. Sarah received 6 felony charges as accomplice completely. Both were denied bail due to flight. Detective Torres said this was unusual, but the judge considered them dangerous to elderly community. Public safety required keeping them in jail. Their trial was scheduled for 6 months. Both defendants would remain incarcerated until then completely. Michael's public defender attempted to negotiate a deal. Defense attorney Robert Chen contacted Thomas Rodriguez immediately. Michael was willing to plead guilty too. He would accept 10 years in prison. Thomas refused the offer on my behalf. Michael deserved maximum penalties for his systematic crimes. The evidence was too strong to compromise. Thomas wanted full justice for all victims. Sarah's lawyer also attempted plea negotiations unsuccessfully. Both defendants would face full prosecution at trial. The media coverage intensified after the grand jury. Local newspapers ran daily updates about them. My story inspired other elderly victims statewide. Detective Torres received dozens of new complaints. Elder abuse reports increased by 300%. The publicity was creating awareness about this. Law enforcement agencies created specialized units for. Banks implemented new security protocols for elderly customers. My case was changing the entire system. Michael and Sarah's crimes had unintended positive consequences. Federal investigators joined the case due to interstate. FBI agent Maria Santos coordinated with Detective Torres. Michael's crimes crossed multiple state boundaries clearly. Federal charges carried longer prison sentences potentially. Agent Santos had prosecuted organized elder abuse. This case fit patterns of systematic exploitation. Federal involvement would ensure maximum penalties completely. Michael and Sarah faced both state and. The complexity would result in decades' imprisonment. Justice was finally within reach for everyone involved. 3 weeks before the scheduled trial date, everything changed. Sarah's defense attorney called Thomas Rodriguez with unexpected news. Sarah wanted to testify against Michael in exchange. She was willing to confess her full involvement. The pressure of media attention had broken her. Sarah could no longer handle the public shame. Her family had disowned her because of the. Thomas explained that prosecutor deals were common in. Sarah's testimony would guarantee Michael's conviction at trial. This development would strengthen our case dramatically against. I felt a mix of vindication and sadness. Sarah's confession session was scheduled for the courthouse. Thomas and I met with prosecutor Catherine Wilson. Detective Linda Torres recorded every word Sarah spoke. FBI agent Maria Santos witnessed the entire proceedings. Sarah looked defeated and exhausted when she entered. Her orange jail uniform highlighted her dramatic fall. The confident woman who threatened me was gone. Sarah's voice shook as she began her. Thomas had prepared me for this emotional moment. Hearing the full truth would be difficult. Sarah began by describing the original plan completely. Michael had approached her about stealing my money. They researched elder abuse methods online for weeks. Sarah studied my daily routines and banking habits. She helped Michael practice my signature repeatedly until Sarah admitted driving him to the bank that she waited in the car as his lookout. Sarah knew exactly what Michael was doing inside. They celebrated the successful theft that evening together. The premeditation was more extensive than anyone realized. The most shocking revelation concerned the timeline completely. Michael had been planning this theft for months. He studied my financial records when helping with. Sarah researched power of attorney fraud techniques online. They practiced forging legal documents dozens of times. Michael had memorized my social security number and Sarah helped him apply for credit cards. They opened multiple accounts using my stolen identity. The systematic approach proved this was organized crime. Michael and Sarah were experienced financial predators targeting. Sarah described Michael's gambling addiction in detail thoroughly. He owed $47,000 to dangerous people. The loan sharks threatened physical violence if not. Michael was desperate and saw me as solution. Sarah encouraged the theft because she feared for. They planned to steal my entire retirement savings. $120,000 would solve Michael's problems. Sarah admitted they never intended to repay anything. My financial security meant nothing to either of them. The betrayal was calculated and completely heartless throughout. Detective Torres asked about other elderly victims specifically. Sarah confessed they had targeted Michael's elderly neighbors. Mrs. Henderson next door had lost $3,000. Mr. Williams across the street was missing $5,000. Sarah and Michael had perfected their theft techniques. They planned to expand their criminal enterprise systematically. My case had stopped a broader elder abuse. Detective Torres immediately opened investigations into these additional. Sarah's confession revealed a pattern of predatory behavior. Michael was a serial elder abuser targeting vulnerable. The confession lasted 4 hours with multiple breaks. Sarah described every detail of their criminal conspiracy. She admitted helping forge my power of attorney. Sarah researched which banks had weak security protocols. She coached Michael on appearing trustworthy and sincere. Sarah even practiced conversations they might have with. The level of planning was absolutely staggering completely. They had transformed elder abuse into a business. Sarah's testimony would ensure Michael received maximum penalties. The prosecution case became absolutely unshakable with her cooperation. Prosecutor Catherine Wilson explained the plea agreement terms. Sarah would plead guilty to conspiracy and fraud. She would receive 7 years in prison. Sarah must testify truthfully against Michael at trial. She would pay full restitution for all. Sarah's cooperation would help convict other elder abusers. The deal was contingent on her complete honesty. Any lies would void the agreement immediately. Sarah agreed to every condition without hesitation completely. She signed the plea agreement that afternoon officially. The news of Sarah's confession spread quickly. Local media reported the dramatic development in Sarah's betrayal of Michael showed honor among thieves. Her willingness to testify revealed the prosecution's strength. Michael's defense attorney immediately requested a meeting with Prosecutor Wilson. Expected a plea offer within days. The trial might be avoided completely if Sarah's confession had changed everything for Michael dramatically. His chances of acquittal had disappeared entirely with the evidence against him was now overwhelming. Thomas Rodriguez explained the impact on our case. Sarah's testimony guaranteed Michael would be convicted at the maximum penalty of 10 years seemed likely. Federal charges would add additional prison time too. Michael would probably serve 15 to 20 years. Full restitution was also guaranteed through the agreement. I would recover every penny he had stolen. Thomas said this outcome exceeded our best expectations. Sarah's cooperation had delivered justice beyond our hopes. Michael's criminal enterprise had finally collapsed completely. I felt conflicted about Sarah's confession and cooperation. Part of me was grateful for her honesty. Her testimony would ensure Michael faced full consequences. Sarah's cooperation would help convict other elder abusers. The broader impact would protect future elderly victims. But I also felt sad about Sarah had been someone I welcomed into family. Her betrayal had been as painful as Michael's. Now she was trying to minimize her. The confession felt calculated rather than genuinely remorseful. That evening I reflected on this turning point. Sarah's decision to cooperate changed everything for everyone. Michael would face the full weight of. The other elderly victims would receive justice too. Sarah's testimony would help prosecutors understand elder abuse. The legal system was working exactly as intended. Justice would be served for all victims involved. Michael's gambling addiction had destroyed multiple families completely. His greed had finally caught up with him. The turning point had arrived for everyone involved. Michael's plea hearing was scheduled for Tuesday morning downtown. Thomas Rodriguez prepared me for the emotional day ahead. Sarah's testimony had forced Michael to accept responsibility. His defense attorney negotiated a 7-year prison sentence. Federal charges would add additional time to serve. The judge would finalize everything in open court. I wanted to be present when justice arrived. This moment represented the end of my nightmare. Michael would face consequences for his systematic crimes. The legal system had protected me as promised. The courtroom felt solemn and official that morning. Judge Patricia Williams presided over the plea proceedings. Michael appeared in orange jail uniform looking defeated. His confidence had vanished completely during these months. Sarah sat in the witness section awaiting. Thomas Rodriguez sat beside me for moral support. Prosecutor Catherine Wilson presented the plea agreement details. Michael would serve 7 years for elder abuse. He must pay full restitution of $73,000. Additional civil penalties would follow through separate lawsuits. Judge Williams asked Michael to confirm his guilt. He admitted to forging my signature on documents. Michael confessed to opening unauthorized bank accounts fraudulently. He acknowledged stealing my life savings systematically. The identity theft charges were also confirmed publicly. Michael's voice shook as he described each crime. Judge Williams asked if he understood the consequences. Michael confirmed he would serve 7 years minimum. The federal charges could add 5 more years. Judge Williams accepted the plea agreement after reviewing. The restitution hearing took place immediately after sentencing. First National Bank had frozen Michael's remaining assets. His construction equipment would be sold at auction. Sarah's car and jewelry would also be liquidated. The combined proceeds would partially reimburse my losses. The bank settlement of $15,000 helped. Thomas explained that full recovery might take years. Michael's prison wages would contribute to payments. I would eventually recover every stolen penny plus. The financial justice felt as important as imprisonment. After the hearing, I felt a mixture of emotions. Relief that justice had finally been served completely. Sadness that my son had destroyed our relationship. Anger about the months of stress and trauma. Gratitude for the legal system's protection and support. Thomas Rodriguez had exceeded all my expectations throughout. Margaret Williams had provided crucial security technology assistance. Detective Linda Torres had built an unshakable case. The community support had sustained me through darkness. I realized how many people had helped achieve Within weeks, I received my first restitution check. The bank settlement had been processed quickly by Thomas Rodriguez negotiated additional compensation for emotional distress. The total recovery exceeded my original losses significantly. I decided to use this money constructively for elder abuse prevention had become my new mission. Other elderly victims needed the help I received. My experience could protect future targets of the pain had taught me valuable lessons about I wanted to transform trauma into purpose. Margaret Williams suggested starting a support group together. Her security business had connected her with victims. We could meet at the community center monthly. Elder abuse survivors needed safe spaces for healing. Margaret's professional expertise would guide our discussions appropriately. I could share my legal experience with. Together, we could help dozens of families. The support group would provide practical resources. Emotional healing required community connection and shared experiences. Our first meeting attracted 12 elderly participants immediately. The support group grew rapidly within 3 months. Word spread through churches and senior centers. Families dealing with financial exploitation found hope here. We helped members navigate the legal system successfully. Margaret provided security consultations at reduced rates for. Thomas Rodriguez offered free initial 7D consultations to members. Detective Linda Torres spoke about investigation processes regularly. The group had helped recover over $50,000. Our monthly meetings became a beacon of hope. Other communities requested guidance starting similar groups. My story continued, generating media attention regionally and nationally. A documentary filmmaker contacted me about participating. Elder abuse awareness was growing through public education. Banks implemented new security protocols after hearing. Social services received increased funding for investigations. Law enforcement created specialized elder abuse units statewide. My case had contributed to systematic positive changes. Michael's crimes had unintentionally sparked important reform efforts. The documentary would reach millions of viewers, potentially. Educational impact could prevent thousands of future crimes. The transformation felt remarkable when I reflected deeply. 6 months ago, I was a vulnerable target. Now, I was a powerful advocate for change. The support group had helped dozens of families. Media appearances educated thousands about elder abuse prevention. My story inspired other victims to fight back. Thomas Rodriguez said I had become his. Margaret Williams called me a natural leader completely. Detective Torres used my case for training. The pain had been transformed into purpose, and my life had meaning beyond personal recovery. 2 years have passed since Michael was sentenced. The journey from victim to advocate has transformed. My support group now meets weekly instead. 43 families have found healing and justice here. Margaret Williams and I have become close friends. Our partnership has helped recover over $200,000. The community center donated a permanent meeting space. Local businesses sponsor our educational workshops regularly each. Elder abuse prevention has become my life mission. The pain that nearly destroyed me became. My story continues inspiring others to fight back. The documentary about my case premiered nationally. Millions of viewers learned about elder financial abuse. Phone calls poured in from across the country. Other elderly victims found courage through my example. Support groups started in 12 different states using. Margaret's security business expanded to serve multiple regions. Thomas Rodriguez became a national expert on. Detective Linda Torres leads federal training programs now. My case study is taught in law schools. The ripple effects continue growing every day naturally. First National Bank implemented revolutionary security protocols after. Other financial institutions adopted similar measures to prevent. Elderly customers receive additional protection and monitoring services. Bank employees receive specialized training about elder abuse. Technology alerts flag suspicious activity automatically for elderly. My case forced the entire banking industry. Thousands of elderly people benefit from these changes. The systematic improvements exceed my wildest expectations completely. Michael's crimes inadvertently protected countless future victims through. Banking security will never be the same. The state legislature passed new elder protection laws, enhanced penalties for family member financial exploitation specifically, mandatory reporting requirements for financial institutions dealing with, increased funding for adult protective services, investigations statewide. specialized elder abuse courts with trained judges exclusively. These legislative changes resulted directly from my advocacy. Other states have adopted similar comprehensive laws too. Thomas Rodriguez helped draft the model legislation. My testimony convinced lawmakers to act decisively. The legal framework now protects elderly citizens. Margaret and I decided to formalize our work. We established the Eleanor Patterson Foundation for Elder Justice. The nonprofit organization provides legal assistance to victims. We offer security, consultations at no cost completely. Educational seminars reach thousands of elderly citizens annually. The foundation has helped prosecute 37 elder abusers. We've recovered over $400,000. Corporate donors support our mission generously through contributions. Volunteers staff our helpline 7 days weekly. The foundation has become our lasting legacy together. Speaking engagements take me across the country regularly. Senior centers request presentations about financial protection strategies. Law enforcement agencies want training about investigation techniques. Medical professionals learn to recognize abuse warning signs. Financial advisors understand their reporting responsibilities better now. Each presentation reaches 50 to 100. My message empowers elderly people to protect themselves. The education prevents crimes before they happen successfully. Prevention remains more effective than prosecution after crimes. The personal healing has been equally important throughout. Therapy helped me process the betrayal and trauma. The support group provided community connection and understanding. Helping others heal accelerated my own recovery process. Margaret's friendship has been invaluable during difficult moments. Thomas Rodriguez continues handling my legal affairs professionally. Detective Torres updates me on similar cases. The professional network has become my chosen family. Trust was rebuilt through these meaningful relationships slowly. Michael writes letters from prison occasionally seeking forgiveness. I haven't responded to any of his communications. Forgiveness feels impossible while he shows no remorse. Sarah was released after serving 4 years. She moved to another state to start over. Neither of them has paid full restitution yet. The financial recovery continues through garnished wages slowly. Thomas monitors their compliance with court orders religiously. Justice doesn't end with sentencing but continues indefinitely. The foundation's impact grows every year significantly more. We've expanded to help domestic violence victims. Financial abuse affects people of all ages, unfortunately. Our expertise applies to multiple vulnerable populations successfully. Graduate students research best practices through our programs. Universities partner with us on prevention research projects. The academic collaboration strengthens our evidence-based approaches considerably. Scientific validation proves our methods work effectively. Technology has revolutionized elder abuse prevention since then. Smartphone apps monitor elderly family members' financial activity. Artificial intelligence detects suspicious banking patterns automatically for. Wearable devices can summon help during emergencies. Margaret's security company leads these technological innovations constantly. The foundation endorses and promotes proven technologies. Modern tools make elderly people safer than. Innovation continues protecting future generations of seniors. Looking back, I realize my greatest victory. The relationship with Michael is forever changed, unfortunately. But hundreds of families avoided similar trauma. The legal system now protects elderly citizens better. Banking security prevents thousands of crimes annually now. My story educated millions about elder abuse risks. The foundation will continue this work for decades. Michael's betrayal ultimately saved more elderly people than evil was transformed into good through persistent effort. To anyone watching this story, please remember these. Trust but verify all financial relationships, including family members. Monitor your accounts regularly and question unusual activity. Report suspicious behavior to authorities immediately without hesitation. Seek legal help at the first sign of. Join or start elder abuse support groups. Share your experiences to help others heal successfully. Like this video if my story helped. Subscribe for more stories of resilience and justice. Remember that even the deepest betrayal can become. Strength comes from standing up for yourself completely.